What's his name again? I forgot. See, I don't remember their names because they're so boring. They need to get better with the editing. She does have pick me energy, and yeah, that made me so angry. On my laptop and on my phone, I can watch this at 1.5 times speed because watching this on 1 time speed is unbearable, friends and things like that. Oh my god, guys. Hello everyone, welcome back to I See Melanie. Today we're going to be talking about the third wave of episodes from season 8 of Love is Blind. So I am a bit late to the party. I meant to put out videos 2 weeks ago, but the last 2 weeks have kind of been hellish for me, and they still kind of are, but you know what? I'm pushing through and I'm doing this video today, and I'm very excited to do it because I have a lot to say about this season thus far. So when I learned last year that this season would be taking place in Minnesota, I kind of had some preconceived ideas in my head. You know, thinking about a game show like this, reality show like this taking place in a smaller city, especially a smaller Midwestern city where the stereotypical idea of a wholesome Midwestern family, kind of comes to your mind, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you think it's positive or negative. I had the idea that it might be a bit more slowed down than the one that was based in Washington, D.C. And so I've seen a lot of chatter on the internet. I've seen a lot in my group chat, and pretty much everyone says that this season, or said that this season was pretty boring. And now that I'm caught up, I have to say I generally speaking agree with that sentiment. Everyone we've seen in this season, pretty much everybody, they all seem like reasonable people. They seem like people who I wouldn't mind having in my life as my friend, as my coworker. They seem nice. They don't really seem nefarious. And I don't really get the impression that anyone is really here just for the social media clout and whatever benefits being a reality star could bring them. I think that everyone is there because they genuinely want to get married, or because they genuinely think they want to get married. I don't think anyone is really here with any malintent. But, reasonable people do not make the best trash TV, right? And I think this is trash TV, and that is not an insult. That's not even really a compliment either. It just is what it is. I love trash TV. Not every TV show has to be cerebral or thought-provoking or, elicits like tons of discussion. It could just be fun. I've been watching trash TV since I was 5. Soap operas, The Young, the Restless. I'm still watching that trash, okay? So I like to see messy characters on my trash TV, and they're not really that messy. And some of the messy ones are gone, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Let's review this week's episode couple by couple, and I have to admit, I can't even remember the names of these people because I wasn't gripped by anybody, so I have to go to my computer and see the names. I have the pictures here in a folder, so I'm going to start off with the tall people. So they are Monica and Joey. Okay. Monica and Joey, they're the couple that I like the most. They both are very gregarious. They're both very tall, and they both have long hair, so on the surface they match. But even deeper than that, they seem like they have a genuine connection. I can't remember all the details from the first episode again. I had a hellish week, 2 weeks, I don't remember all the details, but I do remember Monica mentioning that she is off work right now, I think, and she's taking care of a family member who is sick, and how, she's very close with her family, and so that means a lot to her. With Joey, he seems like a nice guy. I think he has his career, going really well. He's growing out his hair to donate to charity. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. And they're the first couple to get engaged, and so they're the only couple to consummate their relationship when they all went to Honduras, which I've only watched episode or season 7, but I thought it was very chaste of the rest of them. Like, nobody had sex in Honduras, like, except for them. I thought that was kind of crazy. But anyway, when they get back home and they move into their apartment and they're talking about things, and okay, this is an issue I had with this season thus far, is that they really belabored some very mundane details. So they were talking about Monica's sock basket that she has at home, so everyone shares their socks. I'm like, okay, that's a kind of an interesting little factoid. I don't know why people don't have their own socks, but whatever. But they harped on it for so long. It's like, can we move on, or can we mention something else that's maybe a bit more interesting and kind of examine that? Whatever, it's totally fine. They both got chuckles out of it. And Joey also mentioned his OCD, or his former OCD, what he went through as a child. And so, he was showing his vulnerability, he was sharing with her, and they connected about that as well. And when they go to meet her family, her parents seem very lovely. Her, kind of brother-in-law, her sister's boyfriend seemed nice too. But the sister, she was a bit much. So I can understand, especially that's the older sister. She feels the same way I feel about this whole experiment. I have mentioned in previous videos, I think the concept behind this show is absolutely crazy. It's entertaining for me to watch, but if I had anybody in my life, especially a sibling or, cousin or whatever, and they told me they were going on a show to meet a man or fiance and get married within 6 weeks, I would have a lot to say. So again, it was me. I let them know all my thoughts at the beginning. When they actually decide to go, I would say, okay, good luck to you. When they come back with their fiance, I'd have some questions, but I try to be constructive in it. And I don't think her sister was very constructive. Her first question to him was, why are you single? As if to say, you have a bit of a scarlet letter on you. Like, what is wrong with you? How come you're only getting married now? And I think he's 34, which I guess maybe by Minnesota standards, that is old, but he's a 34-year-old man. That's fine. And so he was, he talked about it and stuff. And then later the sister said that he seemed kind of fake, that he's kind of putting it on. And do you really know this guy? I don't like him. And of course, she doesn't know him. She doesn't know what his baseline of animations and how his personality presents. So she doesn't have anything to compare it to. But I get that she is, worried about her sister. But I think the real thing is she thought that she would be married first. And so I think there is a degree of jealousy going on in there. But yeah, at the end of it, I think she does have her sister's best interest at heart. And then later on, when they do the photo shoot and the sister, she's kind of come around to him, seemingly as much as she can come around to the idea that her sister met this guy and is getting married to him after 6 weeks of knowing him, which is fine. At the end, though, there was a bit of a curveball. So when they went to that beautiful conservatory and they were talking about, okay, the wedding's coming down to the wire, what's going on? And she, in the confessional, mentions that she wasn't sure how confident he was because he actually didn't express his feelings, I guess, to the degree he didn't give her the affirmation that she needed, which I thought kind of came out of left field. So I didn't really feel that or see that in the show. And again, I know that this show oftentimes they leave a lot on the cutting room floor or the cameramen just aren't there when it happens. So yeah, that seemed a little contrived to me, but we'll see how it goes. I thought it was notable that we only met Joey's brother. We didn't really hear much about his parents. And a lot of these parents, they're not comfortable with the idea of this project. They're not comfortable being on camera either. So I can understand that, but I could be wrong, but I don't feel as though we got much explanation as to why we didn't meet his family or his parents. But I basically have confidence in them that they can make it through. But this last little bit where Monica's talking about her feelings of apprehension where Joey is concerned, I don't know. So I guess we'll see next week. All right, let's go on to the boring couples, and we're going to start with Daniel and Taylor. Now, these people are not interesting to watch on TV. Again, they seem like very nice people. I wouldn't mind having them in my life as friends or whatever, but they are not interesting. I don't think they have any chemistry together as a couple. They don't bring any entertainment value to this show. The only thing that was semi-interesting about them, and the emphasis is on semi, is that part in the first 6 episodes where she wasn't sure if this guy knew of her all along with the whole Instagram following thing. And oh my gosh, okay, another point I'm going to make about this show is they need to get better with the editing. All the time they spent showing her thumbing through her phone to look through, hey, does this guy follow me? It took so long. And again, I am no professional editor when I do these videos, as you can see. But like, I know from my years of editing that sometimes the things that I actually record when I'm on my software, I realize I can trim out fat right here. I can trim out fat right here. I don't need to show, especially when it's repetitive and there's not very visually interesting to see. I don't need to keep all that footage in. And I understand they want to kind of build some suspense for us by prolonging it, but they really could have cut out easily 30 seconds of it. And 30 seconds might not sound very long, but when you are editing something, 30 seconds is a whole heap of time. Okay, so I'm done talking about that. But anyway, there's nothing really interesting about them. They talk about the ideas of marriage and relationship and how that would work versus like how they actually felt about each other. I felt like, say, for example, Taylor always mentioned that when he was talking in the pods, how he would always say, oh, I'm right here with you. And I say that all the time to people about the most mundane, regular ass stuff. And that doesn't really, to me, like, and I say that, I mean it, but it's not that deep of a affirmation. So him saying that doesn't really mean anything. And again, because you don't know him, you don't know what he talks, how he talks. And this could be something that he says all the time, but you're hearing this for the first time and you're thinking, oh, well, that is so, oh my gosh, he's so in sync with me. It's like, you don't know if he's in sync with you. And yeah, they were boring. Like, they met the parents. Their parents seemed nice. What's his name again? I forgot. See, I don't remember their names because they're so boring. His name is Daniel. Daniel's parents had a very nice house. The siblings seemed nice. Oh, and the mom mentioned the sister, how she's blind and how theoretically all her life, everyone she meets, she's meeting them blind, and how I guess this experiment can kind of mirror that. And this is my thing about this show. So again, the idea of the show is like, don't judge a book by its cover. From all the ads I've seen of previous seasons, so seasons 1 to 6, and then I've seen season 7, I've seen season 8, all the contestants are pretty attractive. Some people are more attractive than others, but I've never seen somebody I thought like, oh, that person's not attractive on this show. So I don't really even think, kind of broadly speaking, the concept of this show, it's like, okay, yeah, they don't know what they look like, but like, that is not the biggest issue that these people are going to go through. They're going to go through the issues of, hey, I don't know what this person is like, or they're going to go through what Ashley went through last year and like marry like a psycho who lies, who has children all over the place, right? That's what matters. Looks don't really matter when you're dealing with a pool of people who are all pretty attractive. Okay, that's my side rant. Anyway, with them, yeah, it was just kind of boring. They were boring. On the trip, I don't know. I just found them very boring, and they seem again like nice people. And it could be a situation where their personalities, Taylor's in particular, like she's just not very expressive, and she might be nervous about showcasing this very private part of her life on camera, which I can understand. I wouldn't be able to do it. So I give them all kudos for being able to even be on here. But yeah, they seem nice. They seem nice. And they seem like they're going to actually head to the altar. So I just wish them luck. And I guess we'll see more about them next week. Now let's go on to another boring couple. And that has to do with Devin and, I don't remember their names. Oh, Virginia. Again, a nice couple. I think Devin has a bit more personality than Virginia. I find Virginia, again, she seems like a nice lady. She's very pretty. She's got nice hair and all that stuff. She just seems kind of flat to me. Like, her personality, she seems very muted. And, we see her smile and things like that. So she is expressive, but she seems as though she's pulling back because she either doesn't want to show everything to Devin, she's pulling back because she doesn't want to be on TV, or she's not very comfortable being on TV, or that's just her personality. I don't know. But yeah, she just seems very one note all the time. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Let me know if you do. And when they were on the Honduras trip too, they didn't consummate the relationship. And I know they're very religious in that, but yeah, like they're fine. One thing I'll say about Devin when he turned down Brittany, this in the episodes before, I wasn't really surprised because he did mention his religious beliefs quite often, and I believe he said he was Catholic. I can't remember. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially him. He seems he's a little young. He's 28, so he's not like super young, but I don't know how much exposure he's had to anybody who's LGBTQ. And I don't think he has a good idea of, what that all entails. And I think he probably, and a lot of people think this, is that, okay, if somebody's bisexual, that means that they were going to cheat on you with somebody of the opposite sex from you. It's like, no, like if they're going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. It doesn't really matter what their orientation is. But yeah, and Brittany mentioned that when they had their talk. But anyway, going back to Devin and Virginia. So her mom seems lovely. His family seems lovely, but his sister kind of got on my nerves because Virginia mentions the topic of the prenup. And I personally think everyone should have a prenup. I do. I think it's a safeguard, obviously. But I don't actually think that you need to talk about that with your sibling. I can understand people talking about that with their parents, but your sibling, you don't need to know about that legal thing I might have going on. And, spoiler alert, he agrees to the prenup, but he, like many people, and again, he's a young guy, he's just starting off his life. He probably doesn't understand that, like, prenups are a very, very good idea. I say that to anybody, everybody. You don't get into your car and drive somewhere with the intention or the idea that, hey, I'm going to die today because I'm going to get into a car accident. Nobody goes in thinking that, but we all know that is a possibility. That's why we wear seatbelts, to help mitigate that possibility. And the same way, prenups are a thing to have in place. So if divorce comes to be, you know exactly how things are divvied up. And so you can leave as cleanly as possible. Because divorces, I don't need to tell you this, but divorces happen quite often, about half the time, and they are very financially and emotionally devastating and decimating. So having a prenup in existence is a smart thing to do, and it's so mundane, and you don't really need to think about it. You don't need to think, okay, the countdown to our divorce is going on. So anyway, so I'm glad that he got that resolved. But the sister also annoyed me when she was saying, oh yeah, so you say you want like a bunch of kids. You're 33 years old. Are you going to have time? Like, girl, she's 33 years old. She can have a couple of kids. Maybe not 6. That's crazy. But, like, she's not some old lady. She's got a lot of time to have children. But one thing I thought was kind of odd is that they never talked about politics at all until they got back home. So I think for most people, at least for me, I can glean what somebody's political leanings are if I have a conversation with them for, half an hour or 50, whatever, for a short amount of time. I can glean without them expressly saying, oh, I'm progressive, or I'm conservative, or I'm this, or I'm that. Just things they talk about and things that they're willing to talk about tells me where they kind of land. And she says she seems like liberal, and she and her family traditionally vote Democrat, and he says his family votes conservative, and that doesn't really surprise me based on where he lives and also, his religious upbringing. And so I say all this, and I don't think I'll talk more about religion when it comes to the other couple. What are their names again? Sara and, I don't remember any of their names. Sara and Ben. But yeah, like, to me, what Devin was saying, that he seems almost either a little on the conservative side or just like totally apolitical and somebody who doesn't vote. I think he alluded to that. I can't remember. But me personally, if you don't vote, I think not voting is almost worse than voting in the opposite direction from me. So I'm progressive. So if you vote Republican, if you're in the States, I think not voting is almost worse than voting for Republican, because it just shows to me the lack of thought or empathy you have for the society in general. Because a lot of people, they vote for all sorts of reasons. They vote for economic reasons, they vote for social reasons or whatever, because they care about society. And of course, they are part of society. And so they're going to have to deal with that climate, and their children are going to have to deal with that climate. But you have somebody who doesn't even think about it. It's like, You need to think about it. And again, you can be on any side. Obviously, I would love everyone to be on my side, but that's just not reality. Pick a side, but get involved. Okay. Oh, at that part where they are on their date night and he has that big bag and in it there's the basketball and the jerseys with their names on it. I thought, is the prenup in there too? Where's the prenup? But you see it. Okay, now let's talk about Sara and Ben. So whenever I see Ben, I think he looks like a young version of Harry Connick Jr. I can't take that image out of my mind. But they seemed at first, to get along pretty well. And then, Ben mentioned his religious outlook and how he goes to church very often. And Sara, I think Sarah's probably, at least politically speaking, we're the most aligned together. Like, we're both progressive and we're not religious. But Ben is very religious. And also, Ben is a person. He mentioned that the last time around, he didn't vote. And he doesn't really think about like these types of things like BLM or like LGBTQ issues and things like that. And again, for me, this is not everyone's situation and it doesn't have to be, but for somebody like me, like that is a red flag. That is a no-no, because if you can't take the time to go out one day to cast a vote that is going to impact your small society or larger society, to me, that shows like a lack of general empathy. And like you just don't really care about other people, especially in situations where there's some very pivotal things to vote on. And she mentions like, oh, my sister is gay. Are you going to be cool with that? And he said, yeah. And I guess it's one of those things, like, from my perspective, of like, I would never even think to ask like, oh, hey, are you cool with like having a gay person in your proximity? Because like what kind of, like, what, like, why would I not? But he said yes, and we come to learn that he does have some gay friends and things like that too. Oh my god, guys. Okay, I'll come back in a second. Okay, guys, we got the all clear. My building is not going to burn down, not today. So let's jump right back in. So we were talking about Ben and Sara, and so yes, his church and all of that. And so yeah, we learned that he does have some LGBT friends. He's a lesbian friend, so he's not like anti, gay people or LGBT people, which is good, should be the norm anyway. And we meet Sara's sister and her sister's partner. And again, they are reasonable people, so they have reservations about this entire thing. And she seems more constructive than, say, Monica's sister, because she lets her know, like, I'm looking out for you. This is a big step. And this guy, you guys don't seem 100% aligned on things. And I don't think so either. And so she says, okay, Sara mentioned again, she's not a religious person. She doesn't go to the church, but she's willing to go to church with him. Now, I'm kind of interjecting my personal thoughts. So I went to Catholic schools in elementary school and in high school. So like 15 years of schooling in Catholic schools. I was in 2 choirs, and one was like not even related to my actual school. I used to wake up for 2 years and go to a church a town away and sing with 4 other people in the church choir. And again, I'm not religious at all. And truthfully, the only reason why I stuck around there is because that priest bought us tickets to see the Broadway production of Rent in Toronto. So I was willing to wake up early because I love me a good musical. But church is not for me. I don't get anything out of it. I understand why people do, and I understand the community element as well. Totally get that. Just ain't for me. I personally don't feel as though I need it, but like, whatever. And so she went to the church and she decided it's not really for her either. And then she said, okay, I have some questions about your church. I wasn't really able to see what they felt about inclusion and stuff like that. And could you shed some light? And he's like, well, you can't really define it by, what you see online. And then she's like, okay, well, you tell me. And he's like, oh, I guess we just talk about general, like, feel good things. We talk about wholesome things. We don't talk about like the wrong things or the right things, because we want to invite as many people as possible. So we don't want to, I guess, essentially turn people off by talking about like unwholesome things. It's like, well, what is that supposed to mean? And like, what do you mean by that? Like, okay, you've got a couple of gay friends here, but what would you actually be like in a situation if they had a kid and the kid was LGBTQ or whatever, or how he sees people in general? Because people always talk about acceptance. It's like, the sister's girlfriend said, it's like kind of beyond acceptance because they're a fellow human being. Like, you don't need to accept them. Like, they're people, they exist. You don't need to be like, okay, I guess you can come in. So I don't know. And then at the end, when she is actually about to get married and she's talking to her sister again and the family, and they're like, yeah, this is very different from what you are like. And don't do anything today, whether it's in the prep before the wedding or the actual wedding itself. Don't do things because you care about what other people are thinking about. Do things that are right for you. And then we see the confessional where she says that her heart is telling her, yes, go through with it, but her mind, her brain is telling her, I don't know. And so we're at a cliffhanger. And I don't know because, again, I don't have much history with this show. I wonder, has anyone ever in the history of this show, whether it's in US or a different country, have they ever, like, gone to the altar, like, walked down the aisle, did all the vows and stuff? But when it comes to saying I do, has anyone said no? That would be really traumatizing. That would be really mean. But I would love to see it on TV. Anyway, let's talk about the last couple. And that is, I remember Dave. I remember Dave's name because he was just, oh my God, he was so ridiculous. And Dave and Lauren. Okay, Dave and Lauren, okay. So even from the beginning, when they were getting together and he was dating Molly, I thought they both seemed like nice girls. I would probably get along better with Molly than with Lauren, but Lauren seems like a nice lady. But I said, Molly, like, Dave, you can't handle somebody like Molly. Molly seems very self-possessed, very self-assured, and she's not going to put up with a little man baby like Dave. Anyway, Lauren, again, she seems nice. She does have pick-me energy, and I do think there's a point in the first set of episodes where she actually says the word pick me. But okay, so they decide they're gonna go through with it. They get engaged. They go to Honduras and they're having, a seemingly good time. But they don't have sex either. And Dave, when they have the party where all the couples are at, the pool party, he goes up to everyone and like basically all the couples, at least one person of each couple, and asks them if they've had sex with their partner yet. And to me, it's like, first of all, if you find out yes or no, like, what bearing does it have on you? Like, you guys are all adults. You could probably assume they did. They didn't. But, like, like, who cares? And I feel as though he was asking that because, well, he knows that he wasn't. But he seems to have a lot of hang-ups when it comes to sex. Let's go to Lauren and let's talk about her friends with benefit situation she had before she started the show. So she said she was kind of just sleeping with this guy for about 2 months. It wasn't anything serious. They hooked up a week before the show started, but it wasn't a big deal. But however, somehow this got to Dave, his sister, and his friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to sleep with a girl or get engaged to a girl who has a boyfriend. She's like, he is not my boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. We hooked up. It wasn't a big deal. He never met my people or anything. And I just kind of, the relationship kind of fizzled out. But Dave is stuck on it. And to me, again, I think this entire show is crazy. But if you're going to get engaged to somebody and they say, yeah, I hooked up with somebody just a little while ago, but I'm not anymore, and he was never anything special, like, take her at her word. And if you really feel you need to, like, when you get back home, you maybe confront the person. I don't really think you need to, but like, whatever. But he's got this idea because his friends keep on telling him this, and his sister keeps telling him this. So one thing I've noticed about Dave, for one, at the beginning in the pods, he was the one person who I found really off-putting because he was always like negging the women, like, oh, you're over 30. That means you must be like, losing your looks and like all these like things to like get under their skin to get attention. But he seems very immature. Like, to me, I find, again, if you're going to be on a show like this, you have to be somebody with a high risk threshold. You can't be somebody who, like Dave, where he mentioned a few times, like, oh, I've kind of treated women like not the greatest in the past, and this experiment has taught me that maybe I shouldn't judge a book by its cover and all this kind of thing. So I felt as though he kind of went into this thinking, oh, maybe this experience could change me versus, the main priority of maybe this experiment might find me a wife. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't very serious about it. And I don't think he went in with like nefarious intentions. I just don't think he realized how unready he was for marriage. And then the problem with this is that it kept on going back and forth. Like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal about your friends with benefits. Then it's a big deal. And then, oh, I saw this person. They said this. It's like, oh my gosh, like make up your mind. And even like him meeting her friends at the spin studio, like that didn't quell any of his fears. And then the night they're having a good time at the bowling alley, and then he brings it up again, and then they break up that night at some auditorium or something. And I was very happy that Lauren finally put her foot down, because this back and forth was irritating me. So it would irritate her. And I guess, you know, Minnesota or Minneapolis is a small town, and I guess a lot of people just happen to know each other. But it's like, you're 32 years old. She slept with somebody, like, who cares? It's not a big deal. I know he's close with his sister, but like, she is your sister. As you mentioned, you are a 32-year-old man. You can make your own decisions. If you're not sure about this whole project in general, that's fine. You shouldn't have come here and wasted her time. And yeah, the whole situation where he went out and didn't call her, and then Molly said at the bar some girl was all over him and things like that. So it's like, was this whole thing about the friends with benefits guy like just a front? I think it could have been, because he did mention something to the effect of, he basically said what he said during their breakup to make her break up with him versus him actually doing it, which is so weaselly. And yeah, that whole situation really bothered me, because, the term, I don't really care for the wording of it per se, but I understand the sentiment. Like, he was basically like slut shaming her. And I don't think that is fair. And also, like, he says he doesn't remember the last time he had sex. So that means it's a long time ago, which is like fine, like whatever. But like, don't put your beliefs on me, or put the weight of those beliefs on me, because like that might be a big deal to you. But for a lot of grown people, that is not a big deal. So yes, so I'm glad they are done. And again, we saw Molly. Molly is a really cool girl. I think, I don't know who she would have been set up with, but I think she would have been a good presence to have on this entire show. But I'm glad for she and Lauren that they didn't end up with what's his name? Dave. And so I think that is all of the couples. Some things I'll mention. Let me see, what's the name of this girl? See, I really wish, yeah, these people are not memorable. Okay, Madison. Okay, so at the bar, we see Madison come back up, and we see Mason's there, Meg's there, and Alex. Alex is there too. And so Madison, what's her name? Madison, yeah. Madison, the impression that she gave me from the episodes 1 to 6. So I don't know if any of you guys know of Dan Savage, but he's like a relationship expert. He has a podcast called the Savage Love Cast. And I've been listening to him since 2010. And like a bunch of people call in with like their love issues and like all sorts of issues pertaining to like relationships and like sex and stuff. And Dan Savage always says that when you're going into a relationship, you don't have to have everything perfect in your life, right? So like, say you're not very satisfied with your job at the moment, or if you're fighting with your mom or your dad, or you don't like your apartment and you want to move, or like whatever, things that kind of like get in your head. Like, you don't have to have all those things in alignment, but you have to have most of them. And so by having most of them, that shows you're in good working order. I don't think Madison was in good working order when she came to this show. I don't think so. She seemed to still have a lot of like emotional baggage. And I'm not saying that to be mean to her or to like belittle her experience. But again, especially in a pressure cooker type of environment like this, when you've got all these issues and you barely, like, you don't know these people, you haven't even seen them, it's a lot to bring to it. And there are some points, and I can't remember exactly what it was, and I am not going to go through those first 6 episodes to find it, but there were some times when I thought she was a little manipulative when it came to talking to Alex and Mason. And yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I don't think this is the place for you, girl. And so when she came up, and of course she brought in all the drama, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I didn't really care for her very much. But yeah. Also, okay. So I did mention, yeah, the editing sucks in these episodes. I remember the first episode I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is what, 71 minutes? And most of them are 60 minutes. Some of them are a bit longer, but like there is no need for any reality show to be 60 minutes or 60 plus minutes. You know, on regular broadcast TV, when we used to watch that, 60 minutes, an hour, that was only like 44 hours of actual TV time. That's fine for a piece of trash TV. Trash TV does not need to be 60 minutes. Okay? The editors need to be fired on the show. It is way too long. I don't understand why Netflix does this because it doesn't matter how long it is really. Like if it's condensed, people are still going to watch it. But I guess it makes it easier, the whole process of editing easier. But it's way too long. So most times when I watch stuff on Netflix, I'll watch it on my TV because it has the biggest screen. But I had to watch this either on my laptop or I went to the gym yesterday. I watched it while I was on the treadmill because on my laptop and on my phone, I can watch this at 1.5 times speed because watching this on 1 time speed is unbearable. It's too long. Even if the people were interesting, it would still be too long. So Netflix, like, do better, okay? Another thing that really pissed me off too, this is very superficial, but I noticed these things. Okay, I made a video last week or last time about the gold cups. And so I read subsequently, and one of my friends mentioned that they have those gold opaque cups because just for continuity's sake, if it's opaque, you can't see the level of liquid in the shot. So, and it's a theme, and so they have it. And like, okay, and the cups are pretty as well. But what really pissed me off though is there are so many instances when these people were pouring out champagne or Prosecco or whatever sparkling wine, and they were still using these big red wine goblets. And that made me so mad because that is the wrong cup for sparkling wine. I get really mad, and I have my irrational things, but like when I see people drinking sparkling wine of whatever sort, and they're holding their champagne flute and they're holding like the body of the cup or the glass, that is not what you do. They have stems for a reason. The stem is so that you can hold on to it and not warm up the drink with your fingers. And also you want them to be skinny because these things are carbonated. And when you have it skinny and tall and like slender like that, it helps keep the carbonation going on for longer. And they're metal as well. So the metal will conduct the cold heat, the coldness, and keep the bubbles going on for longer. So yeah, that made me so angry. Anyway, and they did it for beer too. It's like, no, don't. The beer's not so bad, but the champagne, it's like, don't put champagne in like a goblet. Okay, that's it. I'm done talking about this. Oh, one thing. The wedding dresses, the first 2 wedding dresses were really nice. I thought, Monica and Sarah's dresses were really nice. The other ones they were okay. Like Virginia's and the other girl, Taylor. See, I don't remember their names. They're not interesting people. Like the men's suits, suits, generally speaking, they aren't that interesting. I guess they look nice. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is the bachelorette parties, the bachelor and bachelorette parties, okay? So I'm not into football, which is fine. But if I was into football and I was like one of these guys and, you're doing a bachelor party that's not like very, party-ish, traditional bachelor party, being able to practice or go on the field of the Vikings, I think, and throw the ball around there, that would be pretty cool. I would enjoy that. The women, though, oh my gosh, like they were so lame. Going to the Mall of America, and it's a fancy mall, but like they went to a mall and they were dressed up wearing granny outfits. Like that is so lame. And like, okay, they got to go on the roller coaster. I guess I love roller coasters too, but like I would want to do a little bit more for my bachelorette party. But yeah, I just hope they fed them well because those parties were so lame. Anyway, that is it for week 3's wrap up of Love is Blind. I am interested to see what happens with Sara and Ben and what happens with the other couples. I'm hoping that these last few episodes are going to be some degree of juicy, have some interest in them. Time will tell. Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know if you share my thoughts, what your opposing thoughts are, like whatever. Leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next week for Love is Blind Season 8. Bye, everyone.